Hi everyone and welcome. Thanks for making it all the way from the other building and finding the room. I'm here to share a little bit about what is Kusto, the journey that we went through with this technology, and how we put it to use in one of the most interesting fields, which is cyber defense and threats. My name is Uri Barash, and I'm a product manager at Microsoft. Before Kusto, I also worked on Cortana, advertising, security, and in general many other. All these fields have actually a lot of data science and AI. And this is a pleasure to be here talking to you about Kusto and what it is. In general, Kusto is named after Jacques Kusto, who is who invented the modern diving. It's named for diving the ocean of information. Just spelled like simpler, I'd say. So we'll cover the journey, we'll cover what Kusto is, we'll cover the journey, and we'll see a demo of how Kusto is used in Windows Defender. When we're looking at how data is behaving in the modern business environment, the red type of data was always there in computer systems since the 70s of the previous century. Contacts, leads, inventory, all these things were managed by computers since ever. Then we've witnessed the Web 2.0 revolution, when a lot more data came from the online world, from advertising, from search campaigns and e-commerce. And now we're witnessing the big data revolution. We're actually in it for quite some time. But the amount of data keeps growing, and we're seeing that we need different set of technologies to handle that amount of data. And this conference is actually where we celebrate quite a lot of the innovations in this field. What's interesting about this type of data that keeps growing constantly is, first, it is less structured than what we've been used to. It contains a lot of free text, data encoded in free text, data encoded in JSON, in XML, and other types of semi-structured data. And it changes. We see new types of content, new types of information keeps coming in and out. Different vendors keep changing. So the dynamic nature of this data set, with its high variety, is actually it's challenging. The other aspect of it is the append-only nature of that. Most of this data is coming as a residual impact of an activity, something that happened that creates an imprint on the digital ecosystem. And when we think about what does it mean for companies to go through a digital transformation, what does it mean? It means that companies in this age are trying to imitate and follow the lead of the big technology companies, in the sense that they want to sense everything that the company does with its customers, with its vendors, with its business partners, with its employees. All those interactions generate streams of very detailed activity logs that the company needs to intake and make sense out of it, make decisions based on that information. If you combine two more aspects, one, that everything is much faster. We need to be much more agile in taking this data and putting it to action in very short latencies. And the other thing is that we expect more and more of our employees to be data-driven. That means that almost every layer in the organization is expected to be data-driven. With those trends in mind, we can talk a little bit about Kusto and what Kusto is. In general, it's a database for append-only stream of records, big data that comes in large volume, in high velocity. Kusto can handle today about 200 megabytes of data per second for each machine that's taking data in, and it scales pretty very well horizontally. And the diverse aspect of the data that we've discussed earlier. It's an analytics store, which means that it provides the ability to ask analytical questions about the data, aggregating columns, creating calculated columns, creating aggregations, searching into text, manipulating text, running time series and similar algorithms, and even running custom analytics in Python, R, or other ready-made machine learning algorithms. It's fully managed in Azure. It's a native Azure service. And it comes as a vanilla, semantics-free database, just like any other database platform like SQL Server, etc. The key things is that we created Kusto and purposely built it to handle this type of information and this type of access patterns, as opposed to other solutions in the marketplace that have ventured into this space of big data analytics. And the focus, which is highly focused on interactive access to data. That means that you ask a question, you get the response back immediately. Not in half an hour, not in 2 hours, no coffee break while you wait for the answers, but actually interact with the data and be able to see dashboards and alerts that are pretty fresh. In that sense, we also integrated with a variety of tools, a variety of technologies that help us like ingest data easily and quickly, and also present it. Native integration with Power BI, with Event Hub and through it IoT Hub, and other tools that we keep integrating with as we go forward. Just a few words on the journey. The project started as an internal incubation by part of the Power BI team that was in the process of moving Power BI from an on-premise product to the cloud. And they needed visibility into how their new business is behaving. And that created the initial version of Kusto, and it was very, very quickly adopted by the rest of Microsoft, with each division building their own interaction on top of it and integration into their engineering systems, creating an exponential growth in terms of both data and usage. So we see teams like Office that adopted Kusto all up, where all Office clients and servers are sending information to Kusto. We see the SQL Server team storing their logs in Kusto. The Xbox team moved most of its data science work to run on top of Kusto, and the list goes on and on. Practically, Microsoft runs on Kusto when there is a significant patch that needs to be installed or any like operational point of concern, then the first thing that the executive check is Kusto up to date and ready for everyone to be monitoring their system during the critical phase. So in 2017, we replaced the underlying engines and supported also Windows Advanced Threat Protection that we'll see. We replaced the engines under Azure Application Insight, Log Analytics, and Time Series Insights. And in 2018, we're taking Kusto as a data platform to market, and we're currently in private preview. And I'll talk a little bit about it in a second. In terms of like scale, currently we're handling about 5.5 petabytes of data, new data per day, and almost 7 billion queries a month, and this is mostly from internal Microsoft consumption. We are definitely expecting significant growth with the exposure to the full marketplace. In this point, I'd actually like to invite Tomer and Meni, who are software engineers in the Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection that is built on top of Kusto, and they will show how they use Kusto and the functions. Thanks.
So my name is Meni. I'm a developer on the Windows Defender ATP team. So Windows Defender ATP is a cloud service which allows our enterprise customers to detect, investigate, and respond to cyber attacks on their networks. With that, the team that develops this service is located here in Israel and developed this end-to-end solution from the client that sends out all the information, including the kernel code, through the cloud, where we run our detection, leveraging big data technologies, machine learning algorithms, and AI, in order to detect specific suspicious events or activities that are happening on the customer's network. And finally, to the portal, where we allow the security teams to go and look for what's happening on their machines, investigate threats that we detect, and remediate them. So we scale. What does it mean? We have thousands of customers, and each of these customers can range from a few thousand machines to over 1 million machines. And as an example for that, we can see that the latest news that the National Health Service from the UK actually signed a deal with Microsoft to use our service to detect malicious activities on their network and protect it. And one of the key factors that was behind the decision to use Windows Defender ATP was our ability to use, to actually leverage and give them visibility to every one of their machines in their networks, which spans over 1 million endpoints. And we'll see what does it mean. So Kusto is, as we said, is used in our service, and this is actually the cornerstone of the data platform that fuels our service. Both our portal and the advanced hunting feature that we are about to show to you today are on top of user actually its capabilities. So for that, this is our portal, and this is a live environment of the Microsoft environment. And what we are going to see here is all sorts of information, but just a caveat here. Due to privacy reasons, etc., we won't be able to show you machine names and usernames, etc. So we'll have to suffice on counts and nothing more, unless if it's my machines, Tomer's, or a colleague of ours. So let's start with count how many machines are actually reporting to us in the Microsoft tenant. So we see it is a bit more than 400K machines reporting to us in the last 30 days. And if we want to see how many of these, how many pieces of information these 400K machines are actually generating, and we need to store inside Kusto to help our customers to run queries on top of, we can take a look on, for example, the process creation events, which is every row inside that table is launching an application. So we see it's over 5.6 billion events from the last 30 days. So that's pretty amazing, but just to get you the scale, this is just one table on Microsoft, and we have many more tables, and we have many more customers, some of them much more larger than Microsoft. We only have 400 machines, 400K machines protected by our service. So if we're looking about the latency, for example, we can see on the max event time, which means what is the latest event that came, and we can see that it was from about a few minutes ago. So Tomer, what do you say? Should we start hunting?
Yeah, let's hunt for some bad stuff. So what we're going to hunt, the first example, is going to be a pattern that we have seen in several targeted incidents that we've detected on our customers. In those cases, we've detected the later part of the attack where some malicious activities were happening. And now we're going to focus on how a customer could hunt on top of Kusto very quickly on all of their data to look for patterns that were seen in those incidents that are specific to the delivery stage, to how the malicious payload was delivered. So as you can see, the pattern is basically an email with attachment of a Word document that contained a link. That link pointed to a website from which the user has downloaded the malicious payload. You'd be surprised when you write a good spear phishing email what users are willing to go through in order to install the malicious payload. So let's try to hunt. Okay, so let's run this query. So what we basically see in this query, we basically query for 3 separate events. One are document attachments to email. The other one is URLs opened from WinWord, from Microsoft Word. And the third one is browser downloads. Okay, 3 very noisy signals. If we see the counts just from this very large and noisy network, we see 40,000 events from one of those, and hundreds of thousands of attachments, etc., etc. So obviously we could apply all sorts of heuristics to filter out some sites, or look at sites with other categories, or focus on specific file extensions, or use other characteristics of the data or the network. But we are going to do now a very simple and quick demo where we just join those 3 low fidelity signals together. Each of them is very, very noisy, but if we are looking for machines that exhibit all 3 of those behaviors in the same time, so we can see that, let's run the query, and we can see that we get only, okay, looks like the network is stuck. So, and we can see that only a few dozens of machines exhibit that behavior. We just joined by machine and by time range, and 68 is definitely something we can look on and manually hunt on top of, even on a huge network that contains hundreds of thousands of machines. So again, we cannot show you any information from that network except for that specific machine of our colleague. Let's see what Matan opened. Interesting, it's an invoice. Let's find his machine. Where is it? Okay, so we see that on that machine indeed he opened saved an attachment to this called invoice. We are integrated with all sorts of other Microsoft Advanced Threat Protection services that protect Office 365 with email and SharePoint and identity and all sorts of those. And here we actually get the details of the email from those, with that attachment. So not only do we have full visibility into what's happening on the machine, but we can join it with signals from other areas. Let's look at another example. In this one, we are going to investigate a lateral movement from one machine to the other using a technology, an API called WMI. Using WMI, you can do a ton of stuff, including running a process remotely on another machine. So again, this is very, very noisy, and in order to focus, we are going to join it, in this example, with abnormal logon pattern, specifically a spike in the number of machines a user has logged on to in that day. Okay, so let's see how the query might look like. Okay, so we filter for logons of type network. We'll calculate some threshold for what is an abnormal spike. Let's take the average plus standard deviation per user. Of course, there are other algorithms possible and supported in Kusto, including time series, which is nice. And let's join it together with remote process execution using WMI. And voila, only 2 accounts. Definitely something we can look at and investigate even on a huge network such as Microsoft. Meni?
Yeah, thank you, Tomer. So as you can see, Kusto allows us not only to fuel our portal with our closed queries that we know up front, and not only the portal and its back-end services, but we also allow our customers to run whatever queries they want. Custom queries you don't know about, and they run interactively, which is really, really important for the security personnel that are trying to detect specific suspicious activities running on the network, hiding inside the big data. Another thing is, customers tell us that advanced hunting is really, really useful and actually loved by our customers. They use it all the time to find, again, these specific suspicious activities that hide inside the haystack. And in addition, they tell us that learning this new Kusto query language is not that hard, and within minutes or maybe hours, they can be productive and hunt for the unknown. So thank you. Uri?
Yes, so let's talk a little bit about users. Windows Advanced Threat Protection actually shows that empowering users so they can actually go and shove their hands into data is actually something that they find highly rewarding. We see this across the different domains that we operate in, and we see even at Microsoft all the ways from VPs to financial analysts and customer support folks, a very large diversity of folks using query in order to go and actually issue the reports and get the data that they need by themselves. This is just a challenge that we've asked our users to participate in and print the sentence, just another Kusto hacker. And we've received really so many creative and funny and exhilarating, practically, responses. This guy put all these emoticons here and then added abracadabra, and this actually printed the sentence below, and this is a query on the right. So this is just indication of how involved folks are in getting access to data and how valuable they see that. And that's about it. Thanks. We are in a private preview for the Kusto data platform. It says like aka.ms Kusto preview. Feel free to go there and submit if you're interested in solving a big data interactive analytics problem. You can also contact me directly, urib@microsoft.com. Thank you very much for making the time and for the attention. And I'd love to answer any questions if you have any.